What if the relentless pursuit of growth, that core mission we live and breathe in business development, sometimes forces you onto a collision course with simply doing the right thing?
Mm. It's a fundamental challenge, isn't it?
Yeah. We often talk about strategy, sales cycles, market share, but where do ethics fit in? Are they just a compliance box to tick or something deeper?
That's a great question to start with.
Think about that ancient wisdom from Sophocles.
Rather fail with honor than succeed by fraud. As a business developer, navigating relationships, pursuing deals, striving for expansion, what does that quote truly mean for your daily work?
Yeah, for the decisions you make when the pressure is really on.
Exactly. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're peeling back the layers on a topic that the source material argues is not just important, but absolutely foundational to everything we do in business development: ethics.
That's right. We've been immersing ourselves in a critical section of the business development body of knowledge, specifically the Business Development Code of Ethics.
And this isn't just some list of rules. It provides core principles and, importantly, practical frameworks designed to help you navigate the complex ethical landscape unique to this profession.
So our goal for this deep dive is to, well, cut through the structure of the material and really extract the most important nuggets of knowledge.
Mm.
We want to help you understand why ethics aren't a sideline, but the very fabric governing every action you take, how to approach those challenging ethical gray areas.
Those tricky bits.
Right. And crucially, how ethical behavior is the non-negotiable foundation for building the kind of trust that leads to real, sustainable, long-term growth. Let's unpack this.
Okay, let's start at the fundamental level. The material presents a framework for business development operations.
Right.
It covers everything from high-level strategy down to the tactical execution across functions like marketing, sales, product development, community engagement, you name it.
All the pieces.
Exactly. And what's immediately striking is how ethics is depicted. It's not shown as like a separate department or a step in a process.
No, it's
Layered across the entire structure, an omnipresent force governing every single activity.
It's like the operating system running underneath everything else, isn't it? From the biggest strategic partnership decision in the boardroom
Yeah.
down to an individual business developer's email negotiation, ethics are shown to be fundamentally directing those choices.
Right. It's integrated into the process itself, not just some external constraint you have to check off.
Makes sense.
And this fundamental positioning of ethics ties directly into what the source identifies as the absolute heart of the business development growth model:
Which is, don't leave us hanging.
brand trust. The material puts brand trust right at the center of everything.
Brand trust. Okay. Not just revenue, not customer count, but trust. That feels significant.
It is very. The source uses a powerful analogy here. It says the brand is like a container of
A
trust.
container.
And branding, that's the ongoing action of consistently filling that container by delivering on your promises. It's all about promises kept.
Ah, I like that. Promises kept.
Yeah. You can have all the clever marketing in the world, but if you break trust, that container is empty. Or, worse, it's leaking.
Right, you lose credibility fast. So if brand trust is the core, the critical asset, how do you actually build and maintain it according to this material? What drives that trust?
That's where it gets really interesting, I think. The source identifies three key drivers that are said to, scientifically increase brand value and propel growth.
Oh, okay.
They even give them an acronym.
PET.
PET. Okay, what's that stand for?
Purpose, empathy, and truth.
Purpose, empathy, truth. Tell us more about that. It sounds human.
It is. It's a deeply human-centric approach to growth. The source explains that when a corporation operates with genuine purpose, like having a clear why, beyond just profit, with empathy, truly understanding and relating to the perspectives of customers and the community.
Really putting yourself in their shoes.
Exactly. And with unwavering truth, being honest and transparent, well, this creates a really powerful cycle.
A cycle. How does that work? Well, this PET approach, it leads to increased employee engagement. People want to work for companies like that, right?
Sure. Makes sense.
Then, engaged employees provide a better customer experience. A superior customer experience directly fuels corporate growth.
Okay, I see the connection.
And this cycle, powered by PET and the trust it builds, it cultivates enthusiastic early adopters and corporate partners within the community, which further accelerates growth. It's presented as this virtuous cycle where ethical conduct is basically the engine.
That's the positive side. Ethics building trust, fueling growth. Very compelling.
Sure.
But what happens when ethics are compromised? The flip side.
Yeah, the material is unambiguous on this point. It states that unethical behavior by any participant in the business development ecosystem.
Any participant, not just the company.
No, that's the key.
Mm.
Whether it's the corporation, a customer, or someone in the community, unethical behavior diminishes or ultimately destroys brand trust.
Wow.
And as we just discussed, if brand trust is the heart of the growth model, its destruction is, well, catastrophic.
So it's not just the corporation's ethical responsibility then, it's a shared burden.
Absolutely. That's a critical point the source really underscores. While companies absolutely must lead by example, maintaining that container of trust requires ethical conduct from all sides. Unethical actions from a customer or even, say, a vocal part of the community can also damage the corporation's brand trust. It's a shared space.
Given the critical role ethics plays and this idea of shared responsibility, it makes complete sense that a profession like business development would need a clear set of guiding principles.
Exactly.
And the source points to the Global Business Development Association, the GBDA, and their professional code of ethics.
Right. This code is presented as the formal compass for the profession, you could say.
A compass, okay.
Its explicit aim is to help create that essential brand trust and enable sustainable growth. And adherence to this code is fundamental for GBDA members.
Okay, so let's look at the core tenets then, the guiding principles laid out in this code. What are the most important ones for, someone in business development?
Well, the code outlines several, but a few really stand out. There's accountability.
Right.
Members accept responsibility for their own conduct, sure. But the code also emphasizes holding each other accountable. It positions ethical behavior as sort of a collective professional responsibility.
So it's not just about you, but the profession as a whole.
Precisely. Then there's compliance with laws. Pretty straightforward, right? Adhering to all relevant laws and regulations, international and local.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a specific detail here that caught my attention. The code also includes complying with ethical customer requests enforceable under law.
Ethical customer requests enforceable under law. That's interesting. What does that imply?
It means it's not just about sheer legality.
Yeah.
There's an ethical filter applied even to requests that might technically be legal but perhaps aren't.
Right.
It adds that layer of ethical judgment.
Got it. So legal isn't always ethical.
Exactly. Another core principle is customer advocacy. The code describes members as customer champions, working to advocate for customers throughout their journey to help grow the corporation.
Okay, championing the customer.
But significantly, it immediately ties this advocacy back to those core trust drivers we talked about.
The PET.
Yes, this advocacy must be done with purpose, empathy, and truth. It's not blind advocacy. It's advocacy guided by the very principles that build trust.
So it's about advocating ethically, not just advocating, period. That reinforces the idea that ethics govern everything, doesn't it?
It really does.
The code also mentioned professionalism. Quickly.
Yes, briefly. It touches on professionalism, basically emphasizing the ongoing need for members to continually educate themselves and apply their knowledge for the benefit of their corporation, their customers, and the community. It sort of highlights that expertise and ethical conduct are intertwined.
Okay, so we have the foundational principle that ethics are pervasive, the centrality of brand trust built on PET, and this professional code providing guiding principles. But let's be honest, ethics in the real world, they aren't always a neat list of do's and don'ts.
Not at all.
What about those tricky gray areas, the vague scenarios where you're just not sure?
The material directly addresses this challenge, which is good. It provides a practical tool, the business development ethical engagement process.
Ah, a process. Helpful.
Yes, it's a structured way to navigate situations where the ethical path isn't immediately clear.
Okay, a process for ethical dilemmas. Walk us through it.
It's a pretty straightforward three-step process, designed for when you're evaluating an action, whether it's something you're considering, something a customer is doing, or something happening within the community.
Right.
Step one, is the action legal? That's the absolute baseline check. Is it compliant with all relevant laws and regulations?
Simple enough, yes or no?
Mostly. Step two, is the action delivering value? Now, this is where the PET principles come right back into play. You check for alignment with purpose, empathy, and truth.
Okay, break that down.
So you ask, are your actions and statements aligned with your corporation's stated purpose? I guess why you exist, and is this action consistent with it? Then, are you demonstrating cognitive empathy? Really stepping into the shoes of your customer, the community, your colleagues to understand their perspective and situation.
Okay, empathy check.
And finally, Are your actions or statements truthful? Are you being honest and transparent? No hidden agendas, no misleading stuff.
Purpose, empathy, truth check. Got it. Then what?
Step 3. If the answer to either step 1, legality, or step 2, the value PET check is no, then the material says you must take action to rectify the issue.
Must take action.
And this involves 3 distinct actions. You must acknowledge the issue or behavior, call it out. You must take accountability for your part or address the accountability of others involved. And you must take action to promptly resolve the situation.
Acknowledge, take accountability, take action to resolve. ATAR almost.
Yeah, something like that. It provides a clear framework when you're facing a confusing situation. Instead of just reacting, you have steps to evaluate and act.
That's really practical. And speaking of difficult situations, the source dives into some truly challenging scenarios that, well, you face as a business developer.
It does.
One that really stands out is when customers behaving badly.
Ah, yes. This is where the rubber really meets the road for a BD professional, isn't it?
Just like it.
The material makes it crystal clear. Ethical business development is fundamentally a two-way street.
Two-way street. Okay.
While the business developer's stated mission is powerful, I am a champion. My mission is to grow the corporation through customer and community advocacy. The source states this burden is diminished or even nullified when the customer attempts or actually engages in unethical behavior.
So advocating for an unethical customer isn't just not required, it could actually be harmful, like you're enabling it.
Precisely. The professional code, remember, binds members to hold both themselves and their customers accountable to ethical standards.
Right, accountability goes both ways.
And the source describes upholding this standard with customers as a tremendous test of ethical fortitude, even for seasoned professionals.
I bet. Why?
Because ignoring customer unethical behavior just to chase revenue can diminish or destroy the corporation's brand trust.
The core asset.
Exactly. And just as crucially, it can damage the personal brand and reputation of the individual business developer involved. Your own integrity is on the line.
That puts the business developer in an incredibly tough spot, especially if it's a major account or, a high-pressure sales environment. Quotas to hit.
It absolutely does. And the material doesn't shy away from the difficulty. It states that every business developer must be trained and mentally prepared to potentially fire their customer if ethical lines are fundamentally crossed.
Wow. Fire their customer. That's blunt.
It is. They acknowledge that walking away from a significant revenue source is extraordinarily difficult, especially under pressure to hit targets. We all know that pressure. However, the principle is unwavering. Pursuing short-term revenue from unethical customers must never be prioritized over the long-term gains in corporate goodwill and brand trust.
So long-term trust over short-term cash, even when it hurts. Being willing to walk away from a deal, from revenue, because a customer is unethical. That takes serious commitment to those principles.
It really does. And the source explains how that ethical engagement process we just walked through provides an objective way for a BDP or a team to navigate such a scenario.
How so?
Well, you run the customer's questionable action through step 1, is it legal? And step 2, does it align with purpose, empathy, truth?
Right.
If the answer is no to either, step 3 kicks in. Acknowledge the behavior, take accountability by clarifying expectations or outlining consequences, and take action to promptly resolve.
And that action might be?
It might ultimately mean suspending or even terminating the engagement. The process provides a framework to make that difficult but potentially necessary decision.
That's a powerful, practical application. It's not just theory. It's a tool for the hardest moments you might face.
Definitely.
Now let's look at the other tough scenario the source addresses. This one relates to the community aspect in the growth model. Avoiding community ethical catastrophes.
Right.
Corporations need to advocate for their community partners, prospects, the wider ecosystem, but dilemmas arise when corporate PET, that purpose, empathy, truth, might clash with community norms or expectations.
Yes, this can get really tricky. The source gives an example, something like a cell phone manufacturer being compelled by a democratic government to decrypt a suspected criminal's phone.
Ooh, yeah.
This creates a really complex ethical dilemma, right? You're balancing an individual's privacy needs against the perceived good of the whole community. It's a situation that publicly tests the corporation's purpose, empathy, and truth. How do they respond?
And the source also points out the temptation corporations feel sometimes to try and capitalize on community controversies for visibility. Jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, exactly. They call this woke washing for social issues or greenwashing for environmental ones.
Heard those terms?
This is when a company might make a public statement or run an ad campaign tying themselves to a community cause. But sometimes it feels, well, opportunistic rather than genuine.
Like they're just trying to score points.
Right. The source argues that while the company might have an empathetic desire for positive visibility, this can actually diminish or destroy brand trust if the community perceives it as untruthful, disingenuous, or just plain irrelevant to the brand's actual purpose.
So it's when it feels like perceived pandering, lacking genuine connection or integrity, that it really backfires and damages trust.
Precisely. It's like leveraging a community issue without authentic alignment. And people, the community, often see right through it. Authenticity matters.
So what's the guidance here?
Well, the source again recommends using the business development ethical engagement process here too.
Applying the same steps.
Yeah. Running a contemplated action like launching that community-focused campaign through the steps helps. Is it legal? Sure. But step 2, does it truly align with your purpose? Does it demonstrate genuine empathy? And does it feel authentically truthful and relevant to the community?
And if not?
If not, you're in step 3. You need to acknowledge the potential misalignment, take accountability by reconsidering the approach, and take action to resolve it ethically, maybe finding a more authentic way or deciding not to engage, thus avoiding a potential brand catastrophe.
This brings everything back to you, the listener, the business developer, navigating these complexities every single day. How do these principles, this code, this process, how does it directly impact your work?
Think about the daily pressures you face, the urgency to close that deal, the demands of a particularly difficult customer, the public nature of social media comments.
That's right.
How does the principle of accountability apply when a prospect makes an unrealistic or, ethically questionable request? How would you use that ethical engagement process in a tense negotiation where maybe the other side is being a bit deceptive?
Or consider a long-standing partner who starts engaging in practices that just don't feel right, even if they're not strictly illegal. The material's point about being prepared to fire their customer, that directly challenges how you manage those important relationships and uphold your personal and corporate ethical standards.
It fundamentally changes the lens through which you view every interaction, doesn't it? Building brand trust through purpose, empathy, and truth isn't just some concept for the C-suite or the marketing department.
No.
It translates into your daily behavior, how you genuinely advocate for customers, how you represent your company's values to the community, and how you apply a structured approach to those inevitable gray areas. It's about ensuring that every one of your micro actions contributes positively to that collective container of trust.
Well put. This has been a really crucial deep dive into the ethical core of business.
Okay, sounds good. First, and perhaps most importantly, ethics is not separate from business development. It governs every action. It's presented as the absolute, non-negotiable foundation for sustainable growth and brand trust, which, as we saw, is built specifically on Quipus, empathy, and truth. That PET framework is key.
Got it. Foundational PET. What's number 2?
Second, professional ethical codes, like the GBDAs discussed in the source, provide essential guiding principles. These center on accountability for yourself and your peers,
Right.
compliance with laws, and those ethical requests.
The nuanced bit.
Yes. And customer advocacy, but critically, advocacy delivered with purpose, empathy, and truth, not just advocacy for advocacy's sake.
Okay, so codes matter, focused on accountability, compliance, and ethical advocacy. And the third takeaway.
And third, navigating those difficult ethical dilemmas, whether involving customers behaving badly or avoiding those community controversies, demands a structured approach.
The engagement process.
Exactly. The ethical engagement process provides those critical steps. Check legality, check PET alignment. And if either fails, acknowledge, take accountability, and take action to promptly resolve.
And sometimes that action is tough.
Right. Sometimes upholding these principles and protecting long-term goodwill and brand trust requires making incredibly tough calls, maybe even ending relationships.
Powerful insights for anyone building a business or a career in this field. As we finish this deep dive, here's a final provocative thought for you to consider, flowing directly from the implications of the source material.
Okay.
If unethical behavior by any stakeholder, company, customer, community diminishes brand trust, consider the cumulative impact of all the ethical or unethical microactions across the entire business development ecosystem. Think about your own part in that. How does your personal commitment to purpose, empathy, and truth not only build the brand of the company you represent, but also solidify the trust in your personal brand as a professional.
Yeah. That's a question worth carrying with you into your daily work. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the ethics governing business development. We really hope this exploration provides clarity and reinforces the vital importance of integrity in pursuing growth.